Welcome back to Blake's Craft Beer Podcast. My name is Blake Longfellow. I'm back in Centerville, Ohio with my buddy John Luce at Loose Ends Brewing. He was on, I forget what number he was on, but he was also gracious enough to host the Dayton panel, which went absolutely amazing, and I hope to in the future to do that again with you and everyone, all our fun little characters in Dayton. But they're all really good people, and it was a really good conversation. I know today is not going to be any different. So Welcome to the back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and coming in and setting up. Looking forward to it.
No, like I said, I enjoyed our first talk, and like I said, the Dayton panel went, I think, very well. I had a feeling it would, but you just never know how it's going to go. But I don't think I could ask a better group of guys to come talk with us, and hope to expand it a little further.
Yep. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Because I know there's many other voices in Dayton that would probably love to get their hands on this. So.
Oh yeah.
So how you been, man? We've been talking off air. You mentioned a little bit on small increases in the craft beer world right now.
Yeah, things have been going well. You know, we're here. Just kind of going back through some of our recipes, reevaluating some stuff. Didn't win anything this year at World Beer Cup. We sent in 6 different beers. I think 3, maybe 4 of them made it to the final table. When you get to the final table, they don't really give you any feedback as to why yours wasn't picked. But we're going back through trying to figure out what we can improve upon. I gave you some of those beers there that we had entered, so you can give me your feedback. But yeah, business is, now that it's, sun's out, patio season, we're starting to see small increases. Seeing a lot more of to-go sales, like our seltzers are flying off the shelf right now. Our 4-packs are out of nowhere. I think it was really the beer that I'm drinking now, From the Heart, was our turning point. We almost tripled our to-go, our package to-go beer sales, when this beer was released, and then they've stayed elevated since, which is great. It's nice to see our beers, people taking pictures with our beer out and about, and just really enjoying it, not just at the brewery. Mm-hmm. Of course, we want you to come in and enjoy it at the brewery and eat, but yeah, things have been going well.
So are people more doing to-go orders right now than
seems
drinking
like
in?
it? Yeah, it seems like people have. We still are seeing people getting 1, maybe 2 drinks, whether it be beer, seltzer, cocktails, wine, and the big difference is they're like, oh, I really liked that beer, I'm taking it to go. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we bought a new canning line in January. So then the goal is whatever we have on tap, we want to make sure that we have it available to go. And that seems to be what is really helping people, or having people better choices to take home. So if they like Lorenz Force, a Belgian triple, they'll have it available in cans. And that was what was really difficult before was, we could keep the beer cooler filled, but we'd have a hard time keeping a wide variety of items in there. So now we've got 24 taps, and I think we've got 18 different beers to go in there. So we're getting close to having everything available, but sometimes the taps run out faster than the to-go sales. But that's all just stuff we got to learn and see how much to package of each one. But it's going really well.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone else is having that same thing. And is that what you're hearing statewide, or?
We at the Craft Brewers Conference, it was a lot of dismal reactions to the 2024 numbers. We usually get the first quarter numbers as well when we're out there for that year. Everything is down. It's the most down it's been in a long time. Openings and kind of match the number of closings, I think, if I remember that correctly, which is pretty much on trend for the past 3 or 4 years. But overall volume is down. I think a lot of people have switched from either beer to like RTDs or flavored malt beverages, FMBs. That would be like your White Claws and, you know, your seltzers or whatever. And now it's, the big thing is THC beverages, you know. So that's part of the market that people are, you know, transitioning how they consume. You know, they don't get a hangover, or they, I mean, now that it's legal, maybe it's just got its, you know, honeymoon phase or whatever it may be. But that's something that we offer. We haven't started making our own yet. We've got, you know, the ability and the licensing and all that stuff to do it. It's just finding the time, you know, because it's a whole different world with the THC beverages. We got to send it off to like a food scientist. We're dealing with the FDA, not the TTB, and getting you got to get a nutrition label and have all that stuff done, which is, it's new. Most craft breweries don't have to do that because they're not usually crossing state lines. They don't have to get a COLA, which is like a certificate of a label analysis or something like that. And it's usually pretty simple. We make beer is typically aseptic with just the fact of the amount of alcohol that it has in it, so you don't have to worry about giving anybody botulism or anything like that. But yeah, diving into non-alcoholic beverage manufacturing is a unique thing. It's a lot to learn about. So.
And when you were talking about, you know, you're getting people to their second, but when they take a like a 4-pack home, is that almost like getting a third beer for you?
Yeah, yeah. The margin's a lot lower, but that's fine. What we're really wanting to do is just move beer. You know, our goal is we've got enough production capacity to, you know, triple, almost quadruple the amount of beer that we're currently making. So anything we can do to kind of help push beer, it'd be nice to have everybody have that third beer in-house, you know, because that one extra beer, it doesn't sound like a lot, but across, you know, everybody that comes in, that's a huge increase for us. But I totally understand, you know, not everybody has the tolerance of a brewer, right? So
I learned that at the CBA conference.
Yep. Yeah, it's 3 beers is typically a lot for people, especially during the week. I get it. Not everybody has that kind of tolerance or whatever, or even if that's what they're looking to do, you know, you just want something flavorful to go with your meal. But I always try to encourage, you know, getting to-go beer so you can have it at home. But
is there certain beers that are selling really well for you right now?
Anything that ends in IPA. Our gluten-free sours that we've been doing. So we've got 2 available right now. One's like our painkiller inspired tiki sour, which is, you know, pineapple orange, pineapple orange. What else is in there? Cream of coconut and nutmeg. And I mean, it tastes just like a painkiller, like the cocktail, and very, very good. Then the other one we have is watermelon, mango, and pineapple. That's really good. It's really refreshing. It tastes like you just walked into Planet Smoothie.
Oh, nice.
So we did a barrel-aged beer release with Bella of Dayton. That turned out really, really well. We sold out of that within a week, which is, you know, for 2025 doing a beer release in Dayton, that's really good for us. You know, I don't know if anybody else is like getting hyped about beer releases in the Dayton area, as far as like consumers go, but
I still love beer releases.
I
know I wasn't at that one, but I do still love to see them at least out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some of it's been falling to the wayside on beer releases where it used to be at. huge
Yeah, it
thing.
used to be like you go wait in line. I remember one of the first lines I waited in was for what was it, Yellow Springs noodle burner when they first came out with it, and I that what was that 2013 or something like that. So yeah, that just kind of a cool thing. I wish that would come back, but I think a lot of that is kind of gone by the wayside. People are more focused on waiting in line for bourbon, or just their time's more valuable and they're not doing it. So
A lot of them have families now too, so it's kind of
Right.
harder. But
yeah, when you have, because we can do a beer release every week if we wanted to, but people aren't going to be standing or waiting in line, especially if we can get it on tap. So
because it seems like Nick and John are pretty personal. It was like once a month. I always see like Warped Wing always having one at least a month.
Yeah, I mean that's good. I mean, that's a great cadence to get into, is like have a beer release once a month. We did like once a week for a little while a couple years ago. Then just, once you get all 24 taps filled, if the first one isn't sold out by then, you're just kind of building inventory, which we've tried to really reduce our amount of inventory that we carry, just, cash on hand inventory and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, beer isn't dead. That was the big thing we took away from the Craft Brewers Conference this year. It's down, but it's not dead. There's things you can do to kind of help, And again, like what we really focus on is obviously the quality of our beer, the quality of our food, but we're trying to make as many events that people are interested in as possible. So we've got a ton of events this year. A lot of them have worked out really well, especially the ones that are coming around for their second attempt. So just very focused on that. And we did some reformulation, like I mentioned, with a lot of our beers. So especially in the IPA category, our IPAs have definitely leveled up. I'm drinking From the Heart right now.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's an IPA right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's Kardashev's Ascension. That's our triple IPA. It's the first triple IPA we made. We used freestyle hops, the Rawaka and Rakau, and then they have a product called Sub-Zero Hop Keef, which is a liquid dry hopping agent that we added to the bright tank. It was supposed to be like the equivalent of like 2 pounds per barrel. That beer there, we added 6 pounds per barrel, not including the hop keef. So it's, I guess on paper it's supposed to be like 8 pounds per barrel, but it turns out great. Doesn't drink like it's 10.1%.
No.
You wouldn't be able to tell.
No.
The aroma on it is amazing. The Rakau and Rawaka from New Zealand are, I mean, it's incredible. I love those two flavors together. We got them fresh. It's like probably the freshest hops that we've gotten that are pelletized. So very bright, very tropical. Very happy with how that beer turned out. But From the Heart, what I'm drinking, a little bit different grain bill, definitely different hops. I think this one used Vista, Cashmere. We added, and what I like about From the Heart is like there's a base recipe that gets sent out. It's a statewide collab that the Ohio Craft Brewers Association puts on, and you get to kind of tweak it. And so it's like almost like kind of Pokemon, see if you can catch them all, see if you can try them all. So every brewery that participates, they kind of make it their own version of it. So we collaborated with Southern Ohio and Heavier Than Air, and we kind of made our own version of the base recipe. And we added, in addition to like the Cashmere and the Vista hops, we added the king of all hops, Citra, to kind of give it a little bit more of that hazy character that people, hazy, flavor profile that people come to know and love. So, but it's great. I think the aroma on this is really good. I can't remember who did the recipe development for this one, but they did a great job. So
No, I like I like this a lot.
Yeah, the Kardashev.
I feel like IPA is in a weird stance right now.
Yeah.
Like the hazy is still good, but what I'm hearing is the West Coast is starting to creep back into
Yeah.
ERIC, like black IPAs coming back.
Yeah, it's the black IPA is one that's always like, thrown me because those flavors I don't particularly like that combination of flavor. Whether you call it a black IPA or Cascadian ale or hoppy ale or whatever, but that coffee and the hops just don't seem to really. I don't particularly like it. The dark roasted character of it, but I'm glad to see people are going back out and trying some new stuff. The West Coast IPAs that are coming out now aren't West Coast IPAs of the old, where they're a little malt forward, they're very hoppy, they get the pine and the resinous characters of it. These are more. They're a lot brighter, a lot more Pilsner malt, not so much malt character, but they're taking the typical C hops and just treating it like a hazy, but they're making it bright and clear. So I think they're great. I've had a couple of friends that made a couple, and they're incredible. And we've got one, I think, on the schedule for next month, so in July. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, very, very interesting to see kind of the dynamic playing out with IPA. Still king, but it seems to be people are being a little bit more experimental. I wonder if we'll ever see the Brute IPA come back again. But if not,
would you jump on that train if it does?
I'm a late adopter, I guess. I've always heard. I mean, we could try to make one, but I'll let everybody else figure that out first, because that's one of those styles where I don't want to be sitting on product for 6 months because it's not moving. So, but yeah.
Have you ever made a beer that I think, oh, this is gonna be great, it's gonna move, then all of a sudden it just sits?
That's why. So we started out, making all these different kinds of beers, like classic style beers. But we have 24 taps, so I'd be like, all right, well, let's have like 4 or 5 IPAs on. Well, that's why I dialed back the amount of IPAs that we had, was because they would sit. And you're like, well, I thought IPA was king. Why are they not moving? Are they not good? Or, so the Untappd rating said they were good. Not terrible, not the best, but they were good. They were, no off flavors or anything like that. But what I come to find out is, well, people weren't getting full pints. When you have 4 or 5 IPAs, everybody's just getting flight pours, So instead of selling, 12, 16 ounces at a time, I'm only selling 5 ounces at a time, and they're just not moving as quick. So that's why we really limit our number of IPAs to just 1 or 2. So if people do get a flight, they typically end up getting a full pint afterwards. So, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's a beer that we had that kind of stayed. I know the first wheat wine we made kind of hung out. It was a great beer, but I think the word wheat wine, or the style wheat wine, kind of threw everybody. So, and it's interesting how just the name of it will change people's perception. You get a lot of that with like an ESB or an extra special bitter or English style bitter. The word bitter, people think, oh, I don't want that. That's going to be too bitter. But
they're not really that bitter at all.
No, they're not bitter at all. They're very malt forward. So
is a wine, wheat wine, is that like a barley wine, but it's just more wheat forward?
Yeah, so you basically add the majority of the hop, or majority of the malt is wheat. And then you also have what are called like rye wines. So then you basically same thing, just more rye malt. So, yeah.
Do you think that's why sometimes barley wine doesn't move either, because you see the barley in the wine? And
Yeah, people think they don't know what a wine. They think like wine, like a traditional wine and wine grapes. You're like, it's beer, I swear. But it's high ABV beer. The people that come in and select, whatever they're drinking solely based on ABV, those are the people that come in and drink that. And there's not that many of them around anymore. So.
I think we all matured. That's why.
Yeah, we all matured.
First, everyone when I turned 21, and when you went to Worked Wing or even Toxic early on, Toxic always had they still do today, very high ABVs. Ooh, let's do that.
Yeah, yep.
Those days you normally didn't get to a third beer that day, or you shouldn't have.
Yeah, you're looking for your highest drunkenness per dollar. That's a very mid 20s drinking habits.
Back in 2013, they were only like $5. Thanks, so why not?
Yeah, pints were a lot cheaper back then. So.
Where you feel comfortable where we're at? Pint like them?
Yeah, I think so. I think the cost of beer is reflective of just the industry, the quality, inflation. I think it's right where I see people charge a lot more, than us. Not so much in Dayton. I've seen some people in Dayton charge more than what we charge, but ultimately we're all kind of right in the same boat. Saw something wild when we went to pick up this canning line. It was in St. Louis. We bought it at an auction. And when you're in St. Louis, you stop at Side Project. You have to. But they have a beer called BBT, Beer Barrel Time. And I've never had any beer from them before, which is crazy. But they're supposed to be like the number one brewery in the country. Everything touches wood. Went in, stopped in their tap room, and it far exceeded my expectations, because you're like, I've pretty much, being in the industry now, I've pretty much tasted everything, you think you've tasted, but their beer was incredible. And one of the beers that we'd got was $5 per ounce.
Oh,
I was like, holy cow. Like, I couldn't believe it. I just spent $10 on 2 ounces so I could share it with my buddy, and I don't know if it was worth it, but I totally understand the pricing. Because like you read the description, it was, 24 months in this barrel, then transferred into another barrel, then transferred into another barrel. It was like a 4-year-old beer. And you're like, well, yeah, I get it. I get it. But they also had and I didn't really notice this, but I know they had a problem with like secondary stuff. So they try to force people to drink all their stuff in their tap room, really, by increasing the price on to-go stuff. But nonetheless, I think pricing's right kind of where it needs to be.
Because I feel like everyone is maybe $1 more or $1 less. There's nothing in Dayton is that extremely more than the other one.
Yeah, and it kind of depends on like how you do it too. Some people will serve everything the same size and change the price. But what we do, we serve everything in different sizes based on alcohol content, whether it's barrel-aged beer or whatever, but then we just change the size. So like all our beers are, for the most part, the majority of our beers are $7. And it's either a 16-ounce, 12-ounce, or an 8-ounce. We've got some, like that Kardashev's, that's a little bit more of an expensive beer just with the type of hops we use, where we got them from, how fresh they are, how much we had to use. But the result speaks for itself. It's a great beer.
Is that easy to explain to customers?
Yeah, I think so. People kind of understand that, if you're looking for fizzy yellow water, that's your Bud Lights, that's your Macro Lights. So you can go spend $9.99 on a 12-pack and be happy. That's fine. But that we don't make that here. I had that conversation last week with somebody we were getting ready to do an event with, and they were complaining that our prices were too high compared to macro. And in the very next sentence, they said they wanted to offer like high quality, but they can't offer it at that price. I go, well, I've always wanted a Ferrari and pay the Toyota price, but I can't, that doesn't make sense. So right. There's still some people that you kind of have to convince of what you're doing and how to kind of convince them like this is a special product made with high quality ingredients at a great level of brewing capabilities, and then this is why it's expensive. So in comparison,
like I have friends where I work with right now, and we'll go out sometimes, and you see them crushing all their macro lagers, and I'm drinking. And you're like, well, I said, most of the time my beer is like 3 or 2 more of what you're drinking right there.
Yeah.
So I said, you just gotta think you're drinking quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Now there's an exception, like thankfully, with the Ryan guys coming out with Since You Like now, that you have
a craft version
of it that's close enough to the macro price. It's still a little higher, but it's not extreme, because there's also like you go to some bars or even restaurants that will have craft beer on, and how sometimes they charge more than what you do here.
And I guess I want to kind of make the distinction, but when I'm saying quality, it's not quality in product. Like those macro guys, Budweiser or like the AB InBevs, the Miller Coors, they make a very high quality product. Mm-hmm. And ultimately what us craft brewers would want to do or have the ability to do is have 30 different locations across the world and make the exact same beer consistently throughout. Mm-hmm. That is high quality. When I'm saying high quality, I'm talking about the flavor, the flavor availability. We're creating high quality flavor, whereas like making a macro light lager, you're not really, it's less and less flavor. You're looking for yellow fizzy water with some alcohol is what you're looking for. But, I don't shy away from, and it's not to talk down about anybody that likes, the macro stuff, because every now and again, I'll just be in the mood for a Miller High Life, or a Heineken or a Stella or something, so there's nothing wrong with it. I think they're great beers. It's just, if you're looking for something that's more flavorful, this is where you go.
Right. And sometimes it is what it is. Some places just don't have much to offer. So a lot of times that's when I'll pull out the Yingling or, something in that realm.
Yeah, and it's not, necessarily the proprietor's fault either, because they might just they don't know how to get in touch with a craft brewery, because they just know, I want to make one phone call to one distributor that has everything I want, and I'm just having to manage with one person. And I get that. That makes sense. Like on a day-to-day basis, I'm doing anything to make myself or make my life work balance easier. So I get it. But not all, distributors are going to treat you equally, and especially craft brewers, they say they like us until they sign you, and then you're just kind of like a forgotten relic. But we're in the works of getting a lot of distributor laws changed. Hopefully they're willing to come to the table to negotiate with us. But, it's another long process that we've been fighting for with the OCBA and the Ohio Craft Brewers Association. So, things are working towards that. But I always encourage people, come try us in-house at Loose Ends. But
are you with a distributor now?
Oh, no. We'll never sign with a distributor. Never. Yeah, we'll do self-distro until we're not allowed to do self-distro. It's just it's very predatory. Maybe not predatory. It's a very unfavorable relationship with craft brewers and distributors. If you want to go into it, we can kind of talk about it. But
before we get into, let's get into the next year. And
let's do. Yeah.
Okay.
So
which one?
Go your far left. That one, yeah. So that's Coulombs. That's our German-style Kolsch that came out on April 20th this year. We do something called Kron's Day. So that's when we release our Kolsch every year. It's a German ale at lager temperatures, and Kron's are basically a tray of 10. We had our Kron's trays custom made by one of our regulars, Ottermill Woodworking. He does incredible work. Got those made for us, and so every year now we have those available. And what we do for Kron's Day is, we run a special for that and try to get people and do Kron's service. So we're walking around with a whole tray if you need a refill, because we only serve it in the traditional 7-ounce Stange glass. So they're like $3 for the Stange, and if you want, you can get like 10 of them for like $24. I mean, you're basically getting a beer for free if you buy it by the tray. It's like four-ish beers. So I love that beer. It's one of my favorites. I drink it all the time. That lagers for 12 weeks, a little bit more than 12 weeks. I think we did, like 12 and a half weeks this year, just to get the flavor right where we wanted it to. But light, crisp, very yeast forward, a little bit of hop presence. Great drinking beer for the hot summer weather.
Yes, it is. Because you notice like there's some breweries in Cincinnati and Columbus are coming out with something similar, but each month they have something called a Kolsch night with your same idea. They do once a month. Is that something that you thought about trying to do once a month, or is it once a year?
I don't want to say I'm a trendsetter, but no. The Kolsch night was I saw that at a place about 7 years ago. I can't remember the place. It was in Louisville. What the hell is it? It's called the Grails, where they specialize in, it's just a bar and restaurant, and they specialize in just curating beer from around the world. And then that's where I saw they do Kolsch service. So if you order a Kolsch, they give you the coaster, they mark it down, and then the coaster is effectively your tab or your bill. And they just keep coming by every time they see your glasses like 2/3 empty, they just drop one off. And the way you tell them I don't want any more is you put your coaster on top of your glass and you're done. So then they'll bring you the bill. We do something similar here. We didn't buy the coasters. We just add it to your tab, so it's not exactly, Kolsch service, but very similar. But yeah, I think it's something fun. We don't do it every month. We just do it once a year, just to kind of celebrate the release of our Kolsch. Mm-hmm. So. But our Kolsch moves really quick, which is wild to me. It doesn't end in IPA, and it moves relatively quickly.
It doesn't say light lager either.
No, it's just, people, for whatever reason, love that beer. It's a great beer, so I understand, but it moves faster than a lot of other stuff. Just interesting.
Well, I think for many people in the craft beer industry, Kolsch or a golden ale or a cream ale. Those three were the first really light type of beers in the craft beer world until lagers started coming up again, and you started seeing the people start creating light lagers or something close to it. Yeah,
I'd like to all the brewers in the industry. I think we're the ones that are responsible for the new lager uprising, just because we've. In 2019, 2020, 2021, everybody's like, all right, IPA is still king. It's king. And we're like, I wonder, this was literally conversations we would have or hear about at like the Craft Brewers Conference, or whenever you go see, your buddies or have a collab. You're like, man, it'd be nice if we could, get people to drink light lager, just get people to drink lager again. And so slowly but surely people would do a collab, make a lager, and then all the brewers are talking about lager, and what's crazy is they're not an easy beer to make, depending on, because especially like Czech lagers, or there's not a lot to hide behind. You don't have a huge amount of hop presence. There's not a lot of malt presence. It's very delicate and fine, but it's good to see the resurgence of those styles, just coming back, because they're great beers. They're so good. So,
but now that a lot of your breweries now have lagers, is that something you can go to battle with now? Hey, we got a light lager now, and you don't have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Dinner time.
Yeah, we've always had, for us, since we opened, we've always had a light lager on, for that very reason, to try to get the non-craft beer drinker into craft beer. It was funny, we had a retirement party last year for a friend's dad, and my friend, his grandmother, only drinks Bud Light and only drinks Bud Light bottles. It's wild to see how like specific people can be to their brand. But when they came in, they had like this huge party here, and she was like, I'm only gonna drink it, Bud Light in bottles. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go buy you a 6-pack from the liquor store down the street. And so she saw me walk in with a 6-pack of Bud Light bottles, and I told her, I can only serve this to you in a glass. I can't give you the bottle, but I'll pour it in a glass. Well, what she didn't know is that I poured her our light lager, B-Man, and God bless her, this lady, she's 80 plus years old, had 4 beers, in like an hour and a half. And I don't know, maybe because she knew she had a ride home, but at the end of it, I was like, so what'd you think? I mean, she's like so grateful that I bought her Bud Light and everything like that. I was like, what if I told you none of that was Bud Light? She's like, I couldn't tell the difference. This beer was so great. I loved it. Thank you. I was like, that was our light lager, just to let you know. And she loved it. And then she she actually bought a 4-pack of it to go. I gave her the 6-pack of Bud Light too, but it was just a funny story to kind of get people interested into craft beer,
It makes me wonder, when people say, hey, I only drink this and that, if you would do what like you did a blind taste, you don't know the difference. How many other people would not even know what they're drinking? They had their head set in stone. This is all I drink. I can tell if it's a craft beer.
Yeah, and that's the really fascinating thing about like flavor training, your olfactory system. It's just how you think. Like that label of Bud Light has a big influence on you, because I could put probably all the macros next to each other, and let's say you've had 1,000 of them of each. I bet you could tell that there is a difference between each beer, but I bet you couldn't tell me which beer is which. It's very difficult to do. And if you're already thinking you're drinking something, like you think it's a Bud Light, and it ends up being something completely different, like you wouldn't know. So, and that was just the kind of case about in this experience. But yeah.
But for someone like you that has always brewed lagers, it is exciting to see people are moving back towards lagers.
Yeah.
I mean, you can start pushing your.
Yeah.
Is there some lagers you haven't brewed yet you would love to get?
Oh man, there's a couple like lagers that I want to make, but they just won't. I know they won't sell. That'll be the beers that we just sit on. Like there's a beer, I can't remember if it's a lager or not. I think it is. It's called a Grodzicki. It's a Polish smoked beer, and you just use this smoked malt, and it's just I don't think people wouldn't. You either love those beers or you hate them, and there's a lot more people that hate them than love them. But yeah, it's one of those ones where you're kind of like, I'd love to make it, but there's no way people are gonna. I'll sit on that beer for a year, So, but yeah, there's a handful of those kinds of styles out there. We try to focus on, now what our big focus is, like the fruited stuff, a lot of IPAs. We keep our classic, styles with the Belgians. We love our Belgian beer here, so we always try to keep our Belgians on. We keep our, Hertz, our Munich Helles, our Dunkel, our Munich Dunkel, keep those on. Got B-Man, our American lager, Luminiferous, our American ultralight lager. That's 3.4%. That we just came out with that one, so just in time for summer. Start seeing that at festivals too. And then all of our seltzers. Our seltzers are going gangbusters right now. We've got, I think, 9 different flavors now. So they're just going gangbusters. So,
and since we're on the lager thing, in July you're throwing a big lager party.
Yep.
Which is how did you come up with that? And
so I can't take credit for that idea. My friend Mo, that was the festival was her brainchild. She was a brewer at Lock 27 and then a brewer at Nocterra in Ohio, and she moved back home for a little while in Michigan and just got a new job in New York, and this was kind of her brainchild. She kind of came up with it a couple of years ago, and then her and I just muddled it over, and we're like, man, that would be a lot of fun. I can't we should try to do something like that one day. And I just kind of said, you know what, we need an event that we want to throw. It's called Glizzies and Fizzies. It's all hot dogs and lagers and seltzers. We're including hop water in there too for the people that are coming in with it. We sell a DD ticket, a designated driver ticket, so we'll have hop water available for them. And it's something she came up with. Her and I kind of spun it up, and what do we want it to look like? And it kind of is fun for us because we're, Loose Ends is a engineering and very scientific based brand. Our logo's a diode. I used to be an engineer. All of our beer names, for the exception of a few, have some sort of tie to engineering or science, something like along those lines. Well, this kind of gives us, Glizzies and Fizzies is a festival. It's basically its own separate brand. It's our very first beer festival we're throwing, but it gives us the opportunity to be a little bit more fun, a little more tongue-in-cheek, a little bit, off the rails. We had a photo shoot last week for the festival and doing all kinds of fun, weird, crazy stuff, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, its focus is hot dogs and lagers, and we've got 10 breweries coming in. We're trying to manage it and have really reasonable expectations for this first year. But the primary focus is, offering beer that isn't readily available. So being in the industry for, 4.5, 5 years now, we've made some good friends, and they were kind enough to participate in a beer festival that we're hosting. So we've got 2 breweries from Chicago, a brewery from Michigan, we got a brewery from South Carolina, Virginia, 2 in Columbus, and then the only other local brewery other than us is Branch and Bone. And so we've got quite a bit of, high quality beer, and then beer that you can't get anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So I want to encourage people to get VIP tickets, but early bird is going on until I think June 8th, or I think this Friday or Saturday. Today's June 2nd, so I guess that would be the 7th. But what's nice with the VIP is, I guess I should explain general admission. Basically, general admission is you get 10 beer tickets and 1 glizzy for your, right now early bird I think is $45. So then for VIP you get 15 beer tickets, but you also get 5 collab beer tickets. So I've been running around doing collab beers with 5 of the breweries that are participating, and the VIP will get tickets to try all of those beers. Now, the collab beers aren't falling in the line of the lager or seltzer category. Some do, some don't. But so like next week, we've got our collab with Derived. So they're one of the ones that we're partnering with, and we're doing a big IPA, so similar to like Kardashev's Ascension, just really hop forward. In my opinion, they're the IPA kings in Ohio. I think they make some of the best IPAs and beer in general. But then we went out to Virginia and did a New Zealand Pilsner with a brewery in Virginia. I don't want to give away all the breweries because that's kind of part of our release strategy. So throughout June, we're going to start releasing like what breweries are participating, to kind of build up the excitement, and again, these beers won't be available anywhere else. So we'll have all that available not only to try for the festival, but we're going to have, because we're a brewery, we can sell beer retail. So we're going to have several cases available. So if you do find something that you love at this festival, you have the opportunity to buy a 4-pack to go, which you don't get that opportunity at pretty much any other beer festival. So excited to offer that. And then we're going a little crazy with the hot dogs. So we've got, your normal glizzy, which is just a hot dog bun, ketchup, mustard, relish, whatever you want on there. But then we've also got a menu of 5 or 6 different hot dogs that are just kind of off the rails, a mac and cheese dog, a breakfast hot dog.
So like a zombie dogs type
kind of
thing.
like a zombie dogs kind of a thing. And you can either get it, a regular glizzy, or we're going to have like a vegan or vegetarian option. And then if you're somebody like me, we're going to have a Wagyu beef hot dog available too. So kind of get a pick and choose that. So the VIP, 15 beer tickets, 5 collab beer tickets, and then 2 glizzies. You also get like a little swag bag with extra merch and things like that. So, like I said, I think VIP is kind of the way to go. We're just really excited to kind of offer this for everybody. Festival will run July 19th. It's noon or 1 to 4 for general admission, and then VIP gets in at noon, so they get an extra hour early. We'll have like yard games out there and a DJ and all kinds of stuff to kind of make it a fun event. So mark your calendars. Hope everybody can participate. I think Dayton needs a revitalization in the beer festival, community. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. I've never planned a beer festival before, so this year in 2025, I thought I might as well plan 3. So I've been planning glizzies and fizzies. We've been doing another beer festival with another company, but then we're also we're trying to revitalize it used to be called Dayton Ale Fest. We're trying to bring back Dayton's premier, its own festival for its breweries. So that's going to be Hops and Props on September 6th. And what I really like about this festival is it's a collaboration beer festival. So all of the breweries in Dayton that wanted to participate, they were randomly selected to partner with another brewery, and they're getting together to make a collaboration beer. That beer can only be available at that festival. So be on the lookout for the announcements of that. That probably won't start until, mid-July, early August. But really, really special and unique, something that I don't think too many people have done. And this festival will kick off the Miami Valley Craft Beer Week, where every brewery that's participating will have, special events and specials going on, and beer releases throughout the week. So that's another fun one. But again, look, it's a busy summer that we've got leading up, and we're we're just crazy excited with all these events. I'm ready for July to be over, so all my planning is pretty much done. But July is a busy month for us. We've got our crab rangoon eating contest on July 3rd. We've got the Americana Festival July 4th in the middle of town here. July 13th is our Gears and Beers. July 11th is our Tiki Night, where we make these gluten-free sour tiki beers, and we all get dressed up in hula hoo skirts. Then we're doing the Glizzies and Fizzies Beer Festival on July 19th, and we're doing our hangover brunch on July 20th. It's a jam-packed month, so we hope to see everybody, every day of the week, during July. Just bring a cot. You can come sleep in the brewery next to me. I've got a cot back here, so just don't leave. Come eat and drink here all week, all month. But
that sounds exciting. So, what you want to get into this one?
Yeah. So that one is Coriolis Effect. So that's the one that made it to the final table this year at World Beer Cup. We've done well with that beer in the past at competitions. Haven't crossed the goal line yet, but very yeast forward, with some good malt character and some dark fruit, so dates, plums, raisin flavor in there from the malt and the yeast. A little bit of phenols and ester characters, a little black pepper, some bubble gum, banana a little bit, so banana runts usually. So great beer. People, that's another one of those beers that I didn't think would do well, but the people that love it, and they buy a lot of it, So I think it's one of the best beers we make. Same with the next one you've got in line. But yeah, it's Coriolis Effect, Belgian Double. It's good, easy.
It's nice to see Belgians again. Yeah. Is that something else that's getting better, or?
I don't know. Belgians. Well, I mean, it was funny. We were actually looking at our to-go sales this past week of not necessarily how much we sold, but what we sold. And Coriolis Effect and Lorenz Force, our Belgian double and triple, were the highest sellers. Even though we've got 2 or 3 IPAs in the cooler, the Belgians outsold them, which blew my mind. And it wasn't even close. It was I think we sold 20 and 15 of the double and triple, but then the IPAs were 9 and 10. You're oh man, that's a big discrepancy. So, but we're running low on inventory for From the Heart and Kardashev, so that could be part of it as well. But just happy to see the Belgians are moving. It's great. They're great beers, very diverse. They go great with food. They, one of the famous beer brewers, or not necessarily influencers, but somebody we all grew up with is Garrett Oliver, and he always says, if you're trying to pair beer with food, when in doubt, go Belgian. If you got a dish with fish in it, go with a Belgian triple. If you got something that's got steak in it, go with a Belgian double or a dark strong or something like that. So, yeah.
Getting back into the festivals a little bit, why do you think Dayton has struggled so much trying to get festival to stick? Is it because the people don't stay with it, or?
No, I mean, there's a lot of issues. I think the overall popularity of festivals was the main problem, because it's nice incremental sales for the brewers, because you can sell a keg or two, but what makes it not special is the fact that you're putting your flagships at the festival. So if I can go to Kroger and get the same beer that you're pouring at a festival that's also at your tap room, that's it doesn't work, because the same people that are coming to that beer festival are the same people that are going to your tap room and going to Kroger, so they can get that beer anywhere all the time. So that's why we came up with the glizzies and fizzies is to be like, these are breweries and beers that you won't get anywhere else. So there's this rarity factor. Then for the hops and props, it's like, okay, these are all breweries in Dayton that you're familiar with, but this is a brand new beer that you can't get anywhere else. You can get it in the tap rooms starting on Sunday, but not anywhere else up until Saturday. So I think that was the key thing, is that so many festivals were created because how the laws work in Ohio pre-COVID was that you had to be a nonprofit to pull a temporary permit, and those nonprofits are doing fundraising. So they because they're trying to do fundraising, they're trying to minimize their cost as much as possible and increase sales as much as possible. Makes sense. But when you're forcing breweries to stay within $100 budget for a half barrel of beer, all you're going to get is the cheapest beer to make, which all falls into the cream ales and the light lagers. And, even that is unless you're Anheuser-Busch, you can't sell a half barrel of beer for that price. So that was a main issue. And then just the sheer number of them, the number of festivals. So if you're doing a festival every week, well, I can't have a new, unique beer for every festival or a limited edition beer just for that festival. So it really turned into just, I'm at this festival selling our flagship that is offered everywhere because that's what we have available, and then couple that with the pricing, the pressure from like nonprofits. But fortunately for us, we're able to, being a brewery, we're able to buy other people's beer. We have our A1A and our A1C license that allows us to buy other people's beer. So that gives us the ability to kind of spend a little bit more money to get the rarity factor out of the craft beer that we're going to be serving. So.
Just, when I think back to, one of the most, it was a one-off, and sadly it was because of the tornadoes that went through, but what they did at that was like one of the best ones I think you guys have ever done since up to now.
Because that was like right there, 2019, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. That was at Carillon Park. Actually, my dad and I, we weren't open yet. We were in the planning stages, and we poured beer for Jason and Jeff at Crooked Handle. So we poured their beer for them at that festival. That was the very first festival I'd actually ever worked. So
it was amazing how many people actually showed up for that event, and it's something you feel like, maybe there's something there, but it just hasn't gone back since. So.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work. Ultimately, it's a lot of work to plan a beer festival. And, collectively, as the Dayton Brewers, Alliance or Brewers, we're all independent, small-owned. Like, all of us are wearing 1,000 hats just to do our day-to-day job. Who wants to spend extra time doing and planning a beer festival that you may or may not, break even on, So it's been a challenge, but fortunately we were able to partner with a local charity in the name's slipping me right now. They're going to hate me. But they've done a lot of the planning for us, So we're providing the experience, the beer, and everything like that. They're providing the planning and the location. So, which is a huge load off of, my plate, and Mike from Alematic, he is helping me plan as well. So it's been a huge help to have them involved. I think it's the Dayton Foundation. That's what it was. Sorry, it came to me eventually. But so looking forward to all these festivals this year and trying to kind of revitalize and make it something. Ultimately for us, for the Glizzies and Fizzies, we want to make it, the make it grow and make it the Midwest Invitational Beer Festival that, we start to bring in more and more breweries from around the country. But, it's going to take several years to kind of get to that level. So,
because I look back, at the Dayton Oktoberfest or the Dayton Celtic, if they would have a little more with you guys, I feel like they're already good places, but if they had a little more craft offerings.
Yeah, so that's one of the things, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know we're trying to get ourselves into some of those bigger festivals to kind of be like, listen, you're missing the mark here. I know you've got a relationship with a distributor, but, they've obviously got to, make their money. They're just a nonprofit like a lot of these other places, and so there's a big fundraising event for them. So I get it. But what the customers want isn't what they're offering, So you might cost you a little bit more. It might, be a little bit more difficult to plan, but ultimately you'll sell more and you'll get more revenue for having craft options. Because ultimately I think that's still what people want, versus just macro stuff, whatever a distributor, supplies. So, because we can make, like take Oktoberfest, for example, all these Oktoberfest beers come out now in July.
Are you already planning yours?
Yeah, so we brew ours in July.
Okay.
And then we let it lager for about 12 weeks. Traditionally, I think we've done 14 weeks in the past. It's 12 to 16 weeks depending on when I can squeeze it in. But and then we release it in the end of September. So it's kind of our brewing schedule. Whereas a lot of people, or at least the big macro people, the Sam Adams, that they release theirs in July, and you always wonder why. It's because it takes so long, because they make so much of it, that it takes that long for them to sell it all. From July till December, it takes them that long to sell it all. So
you think that's why they do it with the pumpkin beers too?
Same thing, yeah. It's like we don't make a pumpkin beer for that very reason, because it's like making like an Irish stout for St. Patty's Day, or an Irish red for St. Patty's Day. It'll sell like wildfire on like St. Patty's Day, but then I'm sitting on the beer for the next 6 months. And that's the same thought process that people kind of have with these pumpkin beers. And it's like they sell really, really well for about a day or two, and then they don't sell at all. So we've never made one. I don't think we'll ever really make one. We could, but I haven't had too much demand for it. It's the week leading up to like Halloween. They're like, well, where's your pumpkin beer? And then as soon as November 1st hits, it's like, oh, no more pumpkin beer talk.
But do you think it would go a little further, since at Thanksgiving pumpkin pies are heavy?
Nope. People, because at that point in time, everybody's in Christmas ale.
Yeah,
everybody wants
or
Christmas
barrel age.
Yeah, Christmas ale comes out, and people are, and again, that's something people have asked for, but we don't make, just because it takes so long to go through a Christmas ale. If you don't sell your last drop of Christmas ale on Christmas or Christmas Eve, you're going to be sitting on that last drop for until Christmas next year. So, because nobody's going to buy it in January, the holidays are over. So it's a fine line about making the right amount, but that's all dictated by what size equipment you've got. So.
All right, let's get into the last one.
Yep. So that's Faraday, our German Weizenbock. It's again, more malt forward, a little bit banana, a little more of that Hefeweizen character, and a little plum, a little datey, but not so much clove, not so much black pepper, similar to like the Belgian Double, but made with a lot of wheat. And it's another beer that did really, really well this past year at World Beer Cup. So we're going to enter that one again, do Coriolis Effect, actually that Kardashev's Ascension. We're going to actually enter that IPA into GABF this year, the Great American Beer Festival. So we've never entered an IPA before. We'll kind of see, what people say about that. But the Faraday, it's another one of our favorite beers. I tried to give you all the number one beers, in my opinion, that we've got on tap right now. So,
so when you enter those things, is it a good tool for you to see where you're at versus? I mean, how do you balance that between that and, let's say they said it's bad, but it's kind of, you can't keep it in stock. Is that when you like, okay, I've hit something and there?
Yeah. So like Tauon is our Brett Saison. And we use a strain of Brett called Bruxellensis, and it's very tropical and pineapple forward. It's almost like sweet. But that beer got great reviews at GABF. I think that one made it to the second to last table. So it didn't make it to the final table, but people liked it, but it wasn't your traditional Brett flavor. So that's why it got kicked out. And that's what they told us, great beer, like the Bruxellensis, too tropical though for this category. We're looking more for this. And you're like, okay, well, that's good feedback, but that's one of those beers that kind of sticks around and hangs out just because people don't know what Brett is or they don't like Brett. But so the feedback is typically pretty good. If you don't make it past the first table, it's usually pretty good because that's usually an indication of you're missing something within the style. You've either got an off flavor or you're unbalanced in whatever area for that style. So the majority of our dark beers typically make it to the final table. I think our water kind of promotes that. But the feedback you get when you get to the final table is kind of worthless because they don't tell you, well, these are the 3 beers that won and we didn't choose your beer because of this, right? And I don't get the opportunity to go. So it was like that. So that Weizenbach, it made it to the final table, and the beer that won, I think gold, was from Fatheads. So now I have the opportunity. I can go buy that beer. I can run up there and taste it and compare the two, right? But if, let's say, at World Beer Cup, I entered the Belgian Double and a brewery from Belgium wins, or let's say a brewery from Nevada wins, I don't have the ability to taste them side by side, but they don't give you feedback as to why the final selection was made as the final selection. Compare, like if you make it to the last table. So they usually have 5 or 6 beers on the final table, and they're like, these are the top 3. Well, why are those the top 3, or why did this beer not make it to the top 3? So, and it's usually how it works is whoever is the either more experienced or has the loudest voice at the table typically convinces the rest. So if that person doesn't like your beer, but they like that beer, and it's, even though we could be perfectly in line with the style and it could be a world-class beer, you're like, well, I still would like some feedback with that as to why did ours get booted or why ours got, chosen, kind of a thing.
So when you've done them side by side, can you tell, or is it hard to tell?
So it depends. Yeah, like we've done some side by sides. Typically, depends on the beer, but like for the Weizenbach, malt character is pretty much the same. Their yeast character was a little bit more banana forward than ours, and ours is a little bit more full. Like it's a more it's got a bigger mouth feel to it. Theirs was a little bit drier. That's what we were able to take away from it. So is that something that we change, or do we enter the same beer and hope we get a different judge? Or
So the judges do change; they're not the same ones each year.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest complaint for I don't care. I mean, a lot of brewers are like, well, I made this beer in 2023 and I got this feedback. Well, I entered the same beer in 2024 and I got the opposite feedback, and it's because you have different judges, and so that's why a lot of people don't like entering the competitions, or at least for GABF and World Beer Cup, is it's all Brewers Association judges, and some people say the feedback isn't consistent. I can make the argument, is the feedback not consistent, or is your beer not consistent? Or, there's a lot of factors that go into it, So there are competitions out there, and I think FOBAB is one of them, that they might rotate judges from time to time, but pretty much if you're judging this category, that's the category that you're judging year over year, which is unique. You don't see a lot of that. I'm not sure how the U.S. Open works. I'm dropping our beer off to them on Wednesday, and they're gonna kind of give me a tour and tell me how all that stuff works. This will be our first year entering, so fingers crossed we can, win some awards this year with the U.S. Open. But really curious to kind of see how they do their operation. But yeah, the competitions, when I opened a brewery, I didn't think I would be entering in competitions, but I had a friend, he convinced me, and I'm a very competitive person. So once I did the first one, I was like, oh, okay. So I need to win these awards. So it's kind of
once you win one, it's like, oh wow, that feels great.
The moment, and it is good to kind of get the feedback from your peers, right? That actually do have a palate or actually flavor trained, versus just reading your comments on Untapped, right? I like getting my feedback from people that are flavor trained and they know what a Weizenbach is supposed to taste like, versus a blueberry sour 1 star. I don't like sour. I go, well, that doesn't help me, so
or I don't like IPA,
right? So it is good to get that feedback. I highly encourage everybody to do it, or at least go get flavor trained yourself, so we can continue to make better beer. That's really ultimately what it's all about, is not so much the award, not so much the accolades. I mean, it is nice to have that as a marketing tool, but that's ultimately what it is a marketing tool. But
does it help marketing wise, or?
Well, I mean, you'll see. So when we won like FOBAB, we've won 2 FOBAB awards and a World Beer Cup award. You see a increase of people coming in and drinking that specific beer. I would say those people were already coming into your brewery, and those are already loyal people to your business because they're following you on Facebook and Instagram. But people aren't driving across the state or the country to come try your gold medal whatever beer, and it's not like Dayton is a destination city where people are flying in for a conference and they were like, oh well, Loose Ends is here, so I hear they have a bunch of awards, so I'm going to go try whatever award-winning beer they have on tap. That's not how Dayton is. I mean, I've seen that, or I've done that in I did that, where was like in Denver, you do that a lot, San Francisco, San Diego, Philadelphia, these bigger cities. We just don't have that here. So it is a marketing tool. It's nice to get the feedback from your peers that say, hey, you actually do make great beer. But other than that, you just see a small bump, but it's more for me personally to have the acknowledgement of my peers, like saying, hey, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're doing a good job. Mm-hmm. So
what do you think it would take for Dayton to be in that stratosphere, of Because I feel like Dayton has a very good craft beer scene, but it gets overlooked or shadowed because you know how close we are from Columbus to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Those areas normally get the...
Yeah, we're kind of like I mean, that's a huge question, right? I mean, it's a very deep question that we could probably have a conversation about just about that, you know.
yeah, I'll keep that for the...
yeah, we'll save that for the panel, for the Dayton panel. I think ultimately what it is, I think, you know, we make good beer here in Dayton. I think we obviously, like myself included, I mean, we can all always get better. I think that's something like we all need to kind of adopt and make sure that we're willing to be experimental, willing to try something new and make things better. But we do have a lot of great beer in Dayton, and you're right, it does get overlooked. But I think I won't say a lot of it is, you know, not all of it is like our fault, you know. I mean, yes, we have our own, you know, problems either with locations or styles that we're making, or like we don't get a lot of people that come into our tap room because it's not decorated properly. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm an engineer. I know gray, black, and white, you know, like I'm not an interior designer. Maybe I should have spent more money on interior design, you know, and I wish I kind of would have, but you know, that was what I was able to accomplish with the budget. But I think
your beer and your food speak for themselves.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and
that goes for a lot of people in Dayton as well.
Exactly.
Because, you know, we know them and love them, Eudora, but they're quietly just winning medals, and you don't really hear about them.
Yeah, we were at World Beer Cup and saw that they won. I mean, I was almost in tears. I was like, oh my God, another Dayton brewery won a World Beer Cup award. That is so impressive. Like, people don't know, like, a World Beer, I mean, you're competing against the world in these categories, and to say you make the best in the frickin' world is, I mean, it's incredible. So, I mean, yeah, huge kudos to them. That was their Fuggle beer. I forget what category it was, but I mean, Mother Fuggle maybe. But yeah, great beer. Excellent. I wasn't even sure that they entered. Entered a war like into those competitions, and I was thrilled to see that they won. Because that's just one more step, right, in the direction of like Dayton makes great beer, you know. So, and I think a lot of like why Dayton kind of gets overlooked is, you know, we've got a smaller population. Our Dayton has been like on an overall decline with like it's like the economy, like whether it's pre-COVID, post-COVID, doesn't matter. Basically, when NCR left in like 2000 and what, 5, 8, 6, I don't know, somewhere in that early 2000s, NCR left, and it just kind of, you know, everything has just been a slow decline since. And right now, you look at downtown, I mean, everybody go downtown, come to Loose Ends first, then go downtown and support all those businesses. But they have like in all those office buildings, it's what, 70% vacancy rate. Like, how do you survive down there with no lunch business? You're paying $20+ per square foot, and dinner isn't, you know, nobody's going downtown because there's not much down there. And you saw how, you know, the Pins Mechanicals coming in, they bought that beautiful location from
Moeller.
Yeah, Moeller. And you're like, I mean, even a beautiful location like that, the perfect location, you know, right across the baseball field, you know, they're even struggling. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, if Pins Mechanical can pull it off. You know, they're a much bigger company. They've got, you know, the bankroll to kind of handle it. But, you know, what do you think the result is of, you know, having that many empty office buildings down there? So,
but it's amazing too because they keep building in Dayton, and
they're mostly building apartments, and you're like, well, who's coming down here to live? I don't understand it. I'm not, these people have data that I don't have access to. I'm sure they're making the right decisions for them and their business, and they know what they're doing. But, and I hope that all those apartments and condos, hope all of them get filled, and those people support all those downtown businesses, because they need a lot of help. Like early on, maybe year 2, year 3, we were looking at expanding downtown. And when there was this report that came out, I think middle of 23, that kind of said, hey, this is how many, you want to know why businesses are closing? Because there's all these office buildings are closed. They're not, people are still working from home. There's no incentive for people to go out, and it's much more difficult to go downtown. It's hard to find parking. A lot of them charge, a lot of money to park downtown, especially overnight. If you park in the wrong area, you're going to get towed. There's a lot of things I think the city itself could do to kind of promote, getting people to come downtown. And then I don't know any of the details, but my guess would be the city itself needs to do something to incentivize businesses, larger businesses, to come downtown and get into those office buildings to support their local businesses, because that's what really drives your economy, is these small local businesses, because they're the one paying payroll tax, paying sales tax. They're the ones that are working their butt off trying to make ends meet, and they deserve a lot of support.
Because there's a lot of good businesses down there.
Oh yeah, there's tons of them, and a lot of them have closed, and I don't think it's any fault of their own. They're not closing because they make a bad product. They aren't closing because they rapidly expanded and were too leveraged. It's just no foot traffic. There's only so many expenses you can cut until you're working 24 hours a day. You don't have any employees. Your overhead is your overhead. You can't change it, and you're just not getting enough foot traffic. So what do you do? But on the exact opposite side of that, not to be all down and out, but you do see a bunch of other restaurants and places. I think a new steakhouse opened up downtown. I think it was called Teardrop. There's another couple other restaurants that are opening, if not getting ready to open. I think it's great that people are taking the risk to do it, and I really hope and wish the best for them. But I think there's a lot to still be done as far as what the city can do to provide for them, But yeah, what can you say?
Right. So what are some things I know we talked a lot about your events. Is there anything else you want people to know about Loose Ends coming up? This will be about probably 3 weeks out, but.
Yeah, so we're right now at the June 2nd, so we've got June 8th will be our Gears and Beers. Then we've got, if we're 3 weeks out, so it'll probably be...
No, I lied, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks out. So then we've got Father's Day. That's June 15th, I believe. We're opening for brunch for Father's Day. We've got some other events. We've got Paints and Pints. We're really basically gearing up for July right now. We've got our theme trivia at the second weekend of every month. We've got Beat the Brewers the last weekend of or last Thursday of every month, rather. That's where you come in, you try to beat me at trivia, and if you beat me, you get a free crab rangoon for your next visit. We get into July. It's Crab Rangoon Eating Contest on July 3rd. Then it's Americana Festival July 4th. We're doing a special event where, you come out to watch the fireworks in our parking lot. We'll have our tap trailer and Crab Rangoon available. We're going to do July 13th is our next Gears and Beers. July 11th is Tiki Night. We've got then the Beer Festival July 19th, Hangover Brunch July 20th, and I think that's kind of what gets us through July. Very excited, lots of planning. I please come to our first beer festival. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. You'll have the opportunity to kind of see all of us brewers from, that are pouring beer there, get to talk to us, shoot the shit a little bit, get to try beer that you don't ever get to see or maybe even heard of, and then you can take some home. I think that's one of the biggest attractive features of this festival. Early bird goes on until I think June 8th. Then we're regular pricing until the festival starts. If you got any questions, comments, or anything like that, please email us at info@looseends.brewing, and come see us. The other thing, we started doing free kids eat free on Tuesdays with the purchase of an entree, or kids get a free pizza. So we have small little 5-inch, 6-inch pizzas that we give away to kids on Tuesdays. So it's a new special we're doing. If you want your kid to eat for free, or if you like that idea, please come and join us on Tuesdays. We're really trying to push hard into that, and if it goes well, we'll keep it around. If not, we won't have anything until Toasty Tuesday comes back in the fall.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thank you. It was great talking to you.
You too. Cheers.
Cheers.